Okay, we are back, folks, and we are live from Indianapolis, United States of America.
Does this really count as live?
Well,
yeah, it's not really live.
We're recording live, but we are not live. I mean, we're not going to be coming to you live, I suppose, but we're live currently. We are recording in Indianapolis, Indiana, United States of America, here at the
Seek 2019.
Brent is going to interrupt today's Seek 2019 conference, a special event put on by Focus for Catholic students from around the globe and from across the United States. And we are excited today to bring you our second podcast.
0002.
That is the number.
Dang, we hit it. That was our goal.
We're almost to our goal. 9,999.
Yeah. Dang. Well, I know that we've had a blast. It's been a couple of days. We're a little bit into Seek, a little bit further along than we thought we would be before we first recorded. But we're here, and that's what matters. Yeah. How are you guys enjoying it so far?
I'm really enjoying it. I think just kind of like with my temperament, maybe something that people will kind of understand, like as we progress in our podcast here, just kind of understanding me, like this kind of thing is a little outside my comfort zone. I think just like being with like large groups of people, and then just kind of like, I guess something that we're probably going to talk about later is just like the modes of prayer that occur at like Seek Conference. So, but
Yeah, for me it's been a wild couple of days here. I mean, we spent the first 24 hours on a bus, just bussing all the way from Fort Collins all the way here to Indianapolis. That was cool. And then now that we're at the conference, it's been a lot of learning, hanging out with new people, going to different talks and events, eating little box lunches, and just trying to grow my faith. But it's been really cool. I think it's a blessing to be with so many people who share the same ideals as me, especially those who are the same age as me, because a lot of times we're around people who, in their early 20s or, early college years, and they have a very secular view of the world, or at least just a very different worldview than I have. And so to be here with so many students and so many young people, I think there's something like 12,000 or something like that, maybe more.
I think it's like 14 or
14,000.
Oh, is it that? I thought they said like 17.
Maybe.
Either way, there is a ton of college students here, and it's pretty cool to see, and it's definitely been a blessing for me. So,
yeah, I know for me, it's been really good. This is like my third conference in a row, and so you start kind of getting into a mode sometimes where it's like, there's the same talks, there's the same intro people, there's the same keynotes, but I really found like so far this year is every single talk that I thought was going to be similar to one that I heard before has kept my attention and taught me something new. And I think that's something like that's pretty big for me, because we traveled all this way, and that bus ride, that was a long bus ride.
Yeah.
And like getting here, you can kind of see obviously like the physical toll that it's had on us, but like the spiritual gain that is going to come from this, I feel like it's going to be really, really large.
yeah, definitely should. I would assume it will outweigh the physical toll. I mean, we're gonna recover our sleep schedules eventually, I pray. But we'll never forget this conference, and we'll never forget some of the things that we learned here. We might forget that we were tired. I hope we forget that.
Forget the tired and remember the spiritual.
Yes.
Spiritual aspects.
Sleep is for the weak.
So tonight was the big night, adoration. What'd you guys think? Obviously, before you go too deep into it, overall view of how adoration went.
I was thinking about earlier before we get into that. I kind of just want to define adoration for some people who might be listening.
Yeah.
Because not everybody might know. So I don't know if you just want me to jump into that.
Go for it.
I'll do my best. I'm not the brightest. Just kidding. I am the brightest, but I'm not the most eloquent speaker. Anyways, adoration, for anybody who might be wondering, is basically the Eucharist, which we as Catholics believe is Jesus Christ, his body, blood, soul, and divinity, veiled in a piece of bread, basically. You guys might be able to say that better. Consubstantial, not transubstantial. Did I say that right?
That's fine.
Okay. But basically, we have the host, which before it's consecrated by a priest is just a piece of bread. It gets consecrated, and it becomes
the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus.
Of Jesus. So, Eucharistic adoration is basically when we get to be in the presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. And so today, we got to experience that with 17,000 other people in a very, very big conference room, basically. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we'll be discussing is our experience in that environment.
Yeah, so I think for me, like I kind of alluded to before, like it's kind of outside my comfort zone. I like to have prayer be more of a personal thing rather than, I don't want to say not a community thing, because I think prayer is a very community oriented thing, but like I just think that it's more of like a personal thing. I don't know how to explain it. I just think it's more of like a personal thing. So like it's really outside my comfort zone going into this like huge group of people, and people that like pray differently and do different things than what I'm accustomed to. It's kind of difficult for me. Overall, I had a very good experience. I do enjoy praise and worship music sometimes. I would prefer it not to necessarily be in the context of like liturgy or prayer, structured prayer anyways. But I was singing the songs and I did find peace in that, and I really had a good time, I think. So
yeah, I was only there for probably the first 45 minutes or so, because I left for confession, which was sweet. But for the first 45 minutes, it was just really cool. Kind of how I was alluding to earlier. For me, as someone who goes to Eucharistic adoration outside of this setting, I think when you're in a big group setting, for me, it kind of loses its intimacy. It's not necessarily just me and Christ. It's like me and Christ and 17,000 other people. And so, while I was trying to have those deep, intimate moments with Christ, I was also just thanking him for like all those other people, and thank you for bringing them here to be with me, like to share this moment. But I can definitely see where it's hard to be like as intimate as if it was just your holy hour. It's just you and the Eucharist, you know, in a little chapel by yourself. That'd be easier to have these like deeper moments, I guess. But I think there's still a beauty in the big giant group setting, if that makes sense.
Well, I definitely think even from like my own personal experience in terms of adoration, sometimes it takes that big group to kind of kickstart, to kind of give you like a little burst of energy in terms of realizing what it is that you are adoring. I really enjoyed this adoration. It was kind of interesting. I don't normally like hear the Lord, or you know, like in my prayer it's normally like I prefer sitting in silence, like 1 or 2 a.m. just me. But something that I realized, and I think a lot of people will agree, is that there's a moment where we all kind of turned around and you can just see 17,000 people on their knees. And like that to me is something that is more special than anything else. Because while it is good to have that own thing, to also realize that you're not alone in the pursuit of Christ. And I think that is something that like these conferences really pushes for me. It's just like, yeah, just realizing that I'm not alone. And kind of especially on a college campus, like, we have a good community, but it can also, like, when you're going to class, like, and you're around, people who don't necessarily agree with the Catholic faith. Like, it's the Catholic faith that gets attacked repeatedly. And, like, having a moment where you can kind of take a step back and realize, like, a bigger picture type thing to me can kind of be really, really important for my own faith.
I can agree with that too. I think it is pretty awesome to like see all of these people that believe in the same thing, share the shame. Share the shame.
Shame is from the devil.
In the same belief system, and worship the same one true God. I think it's an awesome thing to be able to do that. So it's also, I mean, kind of changing the topic from adoration, but like even like Mass too. It's cool like going to Mass. We have Mass 8:30 in the morning every day, and just to go there and to I just like be with all these people and worship in the liturgy. You can't go to like a church and experience that. Like, it's only in places like this can you go and have that experience, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, when we did the first Mass when we first got here, what was that? Thursday night or something. Thursday night. When they did the opening Mass and the first note that was sung by everybody in the entrance hymn or whatever, that gave me so many shivers, honestly. Like, when it first happened, it was insane. And just like to realize the like immensity of this event in that moment was like wild for me.
Yeah.
It was like that one note like summed up the largeness, cuz like I don't know, a lot of times you don't really hear people sing at Mass, but for some reason at Sikh everybody like sings like louder than normal. I don't really know what's up with that, but people just do. And like that first note, everybody was singing, and everybody was singing louder than ever, and it was like, it just hit me like, ah, it was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, obviously one of the coolest parts about Mass, I don't know why I'm focusing on like the number of people, but like the number of priests that are there.
Yeah. And
seeing like the structure of the Mass with that many priests, I think is really cool and kind of unique. And seeing, I don't know, just that sheer amount of priests. It's like, even tonight, like, how many people were able to go to confession, and so the sacrament of reconciliation, right? It's like, how many people were able to do that because there are so many priests that are willing to offer up their time to come and, hang out with us, essentially.
Mm-hmm. I went to confession too at the very beginning, and well, we were talking to one of the ladies that was like running the line, because the line is like a queue, like a, what do you call it? Like a queue of lines. I don't know what you call it, but like
a snake.
Yeah, like a snake.
Almost like switchbacks if you picture a hiking trail.
But it was like huge, like the whole expo hall, which is, I don't know how to explain it. It's huge, like it's a lot. And the lady that was like leading the line for confession at the beginning said, we were asking her like, how many priests are here for confession, and she said, oh, there's like 500 priests signed up for the conference, so I think all of them are going to be hearing confessions. It's like, oh gosh, like 500 priests hearing confessions. And then when you actually like get into the room of confessions, we walked into this first room, and it's a huge room, it's a big room, and I saw all these priests. And then after I finished my confession, I had to walk into another room before I could leave, and there was more priests in this back room too,
which was almost as big.
Yeah. So it's like two huge rooms just full of priests hearing, like, they're ready to hear people's confession, forgive their sins in the name of Jesus. It was, I think it was crazy.
It was incredible. Awesome. There was thousands of people tonight who got their confessions heard.
I would say probably like 10,000.
Yeah.
Like, the sheer amount is literally crazy, and the fact that a soul could be saved. Like, normally, like, okay, one soul, that's sweet. But then, I don't know, you're talking about like 10,000 souls who received the mercy of the Lord. Like, that that is
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, I don't know this, but like that could be one of the largest confession events. Like
It could be.
ever. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised here.
Comment below if you know of a bigger one.
Yeah, let's see. I want to know what was the most people who got their confession heard at one singular event in one day or one night.
Yeah. So when I skipped the last talk to like get in line for confession because I knew that it was going to be long and I honestly didn't want to wait in line. So I got in there and I was like one of the first 50 people in line. And I was actually with some other people from Fort Collins, from CSU too, that were in line. And they said that they were talking to our priest that's here, Father Joe, talking to like some of the other priests that were around, and like they're like, it's awesome to hear confessions at things like this, because you hear these confessions and people are like, I haven't been to confession in like 7 years or 10 years, and like to be able to like forgive them of those sins and then to have them go to confession or go to receive the Eucharist the next day, like being free of those sins that they've been holding on their hearts for years, is just an amazing thing. I can't even imagine like as a priest like being able to experience that, like so much joy.
I remember we stopped and talked to the Fathers of Mercy, and one thing that they mentioned was one of their people who was also in there was also Father of Mercy. He went and gave his spiel, and then was listening to confessions, and normally they'll go 8 to 9, 8 to 10. He stayed until like 2 a.m. just hearing confessions, and to me that's sick.
Yeah,
I think that is the dopest thing, to be able to like even just like be responsible. Like as a priest, I think that's one of like the coolest things. Like obviously celebrating the Mass, but then like being able to show people like the Lord's mercy and like give that is on a whole nother level. And I think even it's kind of funny. I think people even outside of the Catholic Church kind of understand confession. And I've talked to some people on campus and they're like, oh, it's like a really good thing for you. But it's like, it's a really good thing for you. It's more than just like a therapy session.
Yeah.
And it's sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think kind of switching topics, I guess, a little bit. But something else that I thought that was super sick that we got to experience while we're here is the Incorruptible Heart of St. John Vianney. It's on tour, and it just happened to be here in Indianapolis during the conference, I guess. So the three of us went and saw it at the cathedral here in Indianapolis, and that was pretty awesome. We got to go away for a little bit. I hadn't left the building the entire time we've been here, so it was cool to just like go to another church, and we were like with actual like parishioners, actual people, not just college students from around the country. I mean, some of them probably were, but I don't know.
There were a couple.
Yeah, but anyways, like to be with like actual people and to see them going to confession there, and to going and praying, and I don't want to say like adore, because we're not worshiping it, but like to venerate the relic of Saint John Vianney was a pretty awesome experience for me.
So for those people who don't know who Saint John Vianney is, can one of you guys give a little bit of a description of maybe like what he's known for, or
yeah
more?
So Saint John Vianney is the patron saint of all priests. He's the patron saint of all priests. And I think something that he's really known for is, well, I mean, the one story that I really know about him is that he would spend like 8 hours a day, like in the confessional. And like the only thing that he would really only eat like a potato. Like that's all he would have. Like he would have a potato and just hear confessions. And I think it's really inspirational to be able to, I don't know, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I think as maybe a future seminarian, future priest, to see something like that Wouldn't you say that's cool?
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally, I think even if you're not Catholic, seeing an incorruptible heart is sweet. Like,
Yeah.
that is something that...
I guess another thing that we should talk about is incorruptibility.
Yeah.
It's like we're throwing that word around too, but I guess there could be people that don't know. So like if a person has lived a very virtuous life, parts of their body or their whole body could be found incorrupt, which means that after death it doesn't decay. So St. John Vianney has an incorruptible heart. I can't really think of any other examples
Of incorruptibles?
Yeah, I don't know. I know there's a ton of them. I just can't think
is
of
Padre
any.
Pio?
Padre Pio is, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't really know them off the top
I don't. If you Google
They're all in
search it,
Europe, dude. That's all I know.
yeah. If you Google search it, I'm sure. I mean, you will find it. It looks a little creepy, to be honest. Like, there's just this dead person like sitting in a chair or like in a coffin, a glass coffin, and you can go up and venerate their body. But
Okay, this sounds weird, but something that I was thinking about when we were going up and looking at the incorruptible heart, it was like, yeah, you pray, like, I hope that, like, I have a heart that should, like, has that much love and, like, joy, and that, like, my heart is able to be incorruptible. But then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, I'm an organ donor. So, like, can it be incorruptible? Like, if it is, probably not, huh?
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, on a side note, I think it's not morally acceptable it's morally acceptable for a Catholic to do organ transplant, but not heart transplant.
Are you sure about that?
Mm-hmm, because you have to take the heart from the body before it stops beating.
Oh, that makes...
That's something if that is the case, if you have to take it before it stops beating, I could see that. I don't know.
Is that true?
100% true.
Are you 100% certain about that?
I mean, I'm saying it on the microphone, so I should probably know, but
We should look into that.
Yeah, I don't really...
update next week.
I'm not gonna mark my words on that.
Yeah, I don't know. That was just thought process in my head. But I don't know. I guess I don't know too much about there's probably someone out there who knows a lot about organ transplants.
We should try to get them on.
And well, we're already supposed to try to get some bishops. Okay, side note, when we're talking about getting bishops on here, well, there is a conference going on right now for all the U.S. bishops. So originally there was going to be over 30 of them. Now there is like 4 of them. I think there was 6 today because I'm not going to say that because I think there were 6 today, right?
I believe so, yes.
Like, a couple of them were playing hooky from the conference.
Yeah. Hopefully they were allowed
Hopefully
to.
that's okay.
Hopefully our podcast doesn't get them in trouble. I don't know.
Yeah, but
We won't
if it
mention
does,
names.
if it does, whatever. And there's someone else coming tomorrow. I forget who it is.
I don't know.
I think it's it might be Aquila.
Really?
No way.
Is what I don't know if that's true. It's just a guess. I think so. I think that is what I heard. Yeah, and so there's only been like 4, and they're all extremely busy because, like, one of them flew in from Colombia, like yesterday, and didn't have a U.S. phone. Is what one of my sources told me, and that it was kind of like a mess trying to figure out where he was because he only had email, and he had to have Wi-Fi to be able to receive email. So like when they were trying to find him to get him situated, it was, and then
Weird.
my source said that he was relieved when he was called, like when they like announced him at mass. He's like, he made it. So, yeah, saw the bishops, U.S. bishops.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the past of these conferences, when I've been at them, there's been, like, you just see random bishops just, like, walking down the street. It's crazy. These things are wild for, like, getting famous Catholic people. Or just bishops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we have a friend named Owen, and I think if he was here, because Owen will kiss any
Seminary
bishops.
Owen?
Seminary Owen, sorry. he will kiss any bishop's ring, right? Like, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, 30 is kind of a lot. He'd easily be able to do it this year.
Yeah.
Kiss every single one. I don't know.
Because there's only 6.
Well, they left, though. They already
Oh,
left.
so there's
the
only
ones
like
that were
4
here
or
today
3.
from that retreat that they left, they're already gone. I think they left tonight.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But by the end of this podcast, we better get someone on. We will find
By the
someone.
end of this podcast?
Not this one.
Not like this episode. Right?
By the end of Seek.
I was about to say, guys, I'm going to skip out and go find somebody.
By the end of Seek, we will get someone on this podcast. I hope.
Yeah, don't promise.
I think
We
we
already
should.
promised.
We already promised. I think we should reaffirm the promise and actually just stick to it.
I don't think we've promised.
Okay.
Okay.
To answer back.
We'll make a solemn commitment.
Brent is raising his right hand right now. We did stick to one of our promises. Ryan has a stash. I have a stash. Brent's head shaved. So we're 1 for 2 right now on promises.
That's 50%.
50%, not bad.
We just got to stay
It's still
above
an
the...
F, but
But in terms of baseball, we're the best hitter
Ever.
for 500.
If we hit 500 for this entire podcast,
sports ball. I don't know what you're talking about.
so
I was-
500 is...
No, we don't need to. We didn't explain off.
Everyone else
Everybody
knows
else
except
knows.
me, so it's okay.
Yeah.
If you don't know, comment and I'll explain it to you in the comments.
Yeah, shoot Ryan a text.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Simple math.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else you want to add? You don't have anything? Okay, actually, I have an idea. Let's, in terms of, we've covered like what we enjoyed. What did you guys find particularly, something that maybe like you like think about or is like challenging your thinking or anything like that?
That's a good question.
About like the conference, because I think it's easy to just kind of go with the flow and accept everything that we see.
Yeah.
So what maybe like challenges something that you guys have thought about?
Oh, like in the talks and stuff?
In the
Or in
talks or in anything at the conference.
I'll go first. I mean, I already told you guys mine earlier. But that's just that, like, for me, well, not even just for me. For a Catholic, the Mass is the highest form of worship that there is. And sometimes I just feel like we're not as reverent as we need to be during the Mass and not as engaged and not as aware of what's going on. And you see this, like, beautiful awareness for the Eucharist in adoration, but I want to see that same awareness and that same love for the Eucharist in the Mass, because the same Eucharist that's on display, I don't know if on display is the right word, but the same Eucharist that's in the monstrance at adoration is the same Eucharist that you receive as a Catholic in the Mass. And so I don't know, I kind of noticed it today, honestly. And that's been my big thing that I kind of have, my big negative, I guess. And it's only a half negative, because the love that we see for the Eucharist in adoration is beautiful. Like, it is such a great thing. I just want to see that love affirmed in the Mass as well.
So how would you want that to be shown? Because during adoration, people have a bunch of different ways to demonstrate that love.
Right.
Versus in the Mass, it's kind of...
Yeah, so obviously that's a good question, because, and I think we might get into some of the ways in adoration that people express themselves later. But I guess just, like, if you're not ready to receive, don't receive. Receive on the tongue. If you... I mean, you don't have to receive on the tongue, but, like, I think it's a good practice to do.
This is a...
just...
But, I mean, that's a good...
Sorry.
Sorry.
See the Eucharist, like, when the priest lifts up, the host and the chalice, and he says, behold the Lamb of God. Like, just be aware that you're in a moment of adoration at that point, and that is the body and blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ, who you claim to be your Lord and Savior. And, like, if you truly believe that, then, like, just just know that that's adoration at that point and really enter into that mystery. I don't know.
Before you add anything, I think that is a great point. I also think that sometimes when you're, and it happens in adoration too. This is just coming to my head now. I know we talked about it a little bit before, but like sometimes when you go to adoration, you're feeling like you're in a state of dryness, and it's just kind of like you're just there to be there. Like when you have a scheduled hour and like you don't want to be there, sometimes you literally just go and you're just like sitting down. And you're like, Lord, like I don't want to be here, but like I want to be here.
Right.
And so like if you're at Mass and you know, sometimes it's like you're not really into it, but it's like the big thing is that you're still there. And I think that alone can also be a sign of reverence. That like you are there at the Mass taking part of. I mean, obviously there's
it's a very small act of reverence.
Yeah, but I mean,
it is. I mean, it's a sacrifice to be there because you have other things that you could be doing.
Yeah,
it's better to be there than not be there.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, well, like going to adoration and seeing these acts of reverence, like people with their hands in the air, or people passing out, or people lying prostrate, like acts of reverence. But like when we go to receive communion at Mass, people are standing and just stick out their hands. It's like, where's the reverence in this? You know? I personally received communion kneeling and on the tongue. I remember as a kid standing and on the hand, but I don't even remember the last time that I've done that. It's like, I don't know.
We were taught to receive.
I was too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To receive standing and on the tongue.
I prefer on the tongue. Sometimes I kneel. Honestly, it kind of depends on who's the Eucharistic minister. Because like sometimes I'm like, I am just going to make sure that you don't drop this Eucharist before I like go and kneel. But I don't think that we can necessarily fault people for receiving on the hand. Because like it's not like it's...
I mean, you can't in
right.
the US.
They haven't been taught that.
Right, and in the United States, it's liturgically a thing. Like it's accepted and almost encouraged. I don't know if encouraged is the right word. And so like we can't really like criticize them too harshly for receiving on the hand, but yeah,
I would say the only reason I kneel and receive is literally because, well, one thing was when I first came back to my faith, like I went to St. John's. That was like the first place that I went back to, and I saw these people kneeling and receiving, and I didn't understand why at first. But then I was like, shoot, like that's Jesus Christ. And so that's why I do it. But at the same time, like, I mean, it's like you're still receiving, period.
right.
And I know people who receive like on the hand and they're like some of the holiest people. And so, and you can show reverence in other ways. As Father Rocco has, I don't know if I should name drop it. As Father Rocco has said, like, you know, you can bow before, right? You can bow before you go and receive. Like there are other ways to show reverence than just receiving, kneeling, and on the tongue. Not that I would prefer. Yeah.
We could do a whole podcast on just this topic. I wrote a paper on it when I was in college, to be honest.
Wow.
How long is the paper?
It was like 10 pages.
What'd you get on it?
Double spaced?
So it was okay.
C-.
It wasn't a graded paper.
Well,
So
man, I've read many of those. Not graded.
I got in trouble for posting a meme on Facebook when I was in college. And the rector of the seminary, it was brought to formation, and I got in trouble for it, and I had to write a research paper on communion in the hand. So, yes.
So what did they say after you turned it in?
We don't need to go into
All right, so...
Yeah. We're kind of off on a tangent at this point.
Yes,
we're on a way far tangent.
Honestly.
Okay, so back to the original question is... What was the original question?
Things that weren't so awesome.
Things that maybe you didn't necessarily see eye to eye with her.
Okay. So, I don't know if I have an answer to that question, but something that I've kind of just noticed within myself too is, sometimes I feel, how do I want to say this? Like, I feel like I've kind of been in a bad mood since coming here. Yeah, Ryan, like, rolls his eyes, like, yeah, we know. But, like, I feel like I've been in a bad mood, and I kind of feel like it's kind of the devil, like, kind of pushing me down, you know? Because we're here to have this amazing experience of God, and the devil doesn't want that to happen. So I kind of feel like being pushed down and, like, dragged down. I don't want to, like, say that my sins are, like, things that I've done, or my sins are all just caused by the devil. That's not what I'm trying to say either. But, like, I just feel like,
low-key,
like the pressure. You know?
But they are.
Yeah, low-key, all your sins are from the devil.
Well, no, because we have free will.
No, but we didn't.
The temptation.
So if you think about, like, the garden, right? Like, we fell, which led to, like, root sins, which leads to other stuff. Like, it literally all connects.
Yeah. But that's why you can only say low-key. It's not like high-key all your sins are from the devil.
Yeah.
Because then it wouldn't be your sins, it'd be the devil's sins. But that's why it's low-key.
Yeah. Low-key.
You know.
Anyways, I went to when I went to confession today, the priest noticed that I blamed a lot of my sins on other factors. Be like, oh, well, I committed this sin because of these certain pressures or something, you know. But he said to take accountability for your sins. I did that. This is my sin, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, just saying.
Am I supposed to?
Yeah,
say
I guess, yeah. I think Brent's done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Well, something that I don't know. I haven't really disliked. The only thing that I've disliked so far about the conference was the lunch.
True.
Because they don't give you any food. They give you like a little sandwich.
If Curtis Martin is listening to this, bigger sandwiches, please.
It may be like a little bit bigger.
Yeah, just a little.
They also said they were donated, though.
Oh.
Like today's lunch was donated by the Knights of Columbus.
Well, Knights, if you're listening.
So, like, they give you like a sandwich and they give you a Lay's bag of chips, which Lay's is like air. So, like, basically you get a bag of air in a sandwich.
The cookies are good.
The cookies are good because they're grandma's cookies.
They're fire.
Yeah. Alright, so I like the cookies. Maybe make the sandwich a little bit bigger. And not the bag of air. But I wouldn't say that I've gone on these in the past and had issues with, like, certain things, like getting into talks has been, like, in the past hard for me. But I've been able to do that this year.
It's been good this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't here last year.
I think that they've, like, really improved on it. And you can tell. So props to them. And then, other than that, I mean, it just seems like everything is kind of... I feel like I'm in a place where I'm not necessarily here for me. And I think that's why it's also, like, not as difficult as it was, like, my first seek. Because my first seek, it was, like, all about me. And I think this one, it's, like, I'm here for the younger guys. Or, like, certain people, it's, like, when you put other people ahead, it's just, like, it's kind of cool. And so, like, I feel, like, freed in a lot of that. I don't think I've done the best job, like, you know, if I'm saying that I'm here for other people, I don't think I've done the best job at that. Because I took a nap today. But I feel like...
Sleep is for the weak.
I'm working on it, and I feel like that is something that, like, the Lord is calling me to do. And so, like, yeah, I don't really have any complaints this year. Besides the lunch.
We are grateful for the lunch nights. Don't get it twisted.
Oh, yeah, we are. I am grateful for food.
We appreciate it.
Like, if I was really hungry...
We just want it to be bigger.
Yeah.
We're growing boys.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm like 6'3", right? And I'm receiving the same meal as a girl who's maybe like 4'5".
True.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you want to hear what my beef was? My beef was that, and I love all you vegans. I love all you.
They didn't get 2
vegetarians.
boxes.
They got a box and a salad.
No. The box, because I ate with someone that had that. The box just had dressing and an apple. They got an apple, dude. We don't even get no fruit.
Yeah, they get a healthy lunch. We get this little box sandwich. Like,
True.
Yeah.
theirs is nutritious. Ours is chips, cookies, and a box sandwich. Why do they get nutrition?
I wish that the sandwiches were Uncrustables.
I'm complaining again.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Let's
actually.
talk
So,
about that.
in the confession line, I kind of came to a realization. So, like Brent said, that confession line was insanely long. I think, I'm not joking, you had to walk for about 45 minutes to get through all of these. Mine was pretty constant.
Really?
Yeah, because it was so long that people would start getting spread out.
They could have cut back on some of the switchbacks.
Yeah, I'm not joking. There was at least probably 75 switchbacks. And each one was about 4 feet wide and 200 yards long.
200 yards.
200 yards is long.
It was long.
It was probably like,
200
Okay,
yards
how
is
about this? Tomorrow,
long.
I'm going to pace it out because I can estimate about how far it was.
2
in the
football
room.
fields each time. 75 of those, dude. I think you
Okay,
need
maybe it was
to
100 yards. Maybe it was 100 yards. Maybe it was 50 yards. I'll pace it out for you guys tomorrow. But all that I know is that it was long. But that's not the point here. The point is, as I was walking, I started thinking to myself, this sucks. Like, I shouldn't have to walk this far to go to confession. And then I started thinking, I was like, who else walked in single file lines, like, to get all the way to their end goal? And, like, the only thing that I could get in my head, and it was a really weird connection, was, like, the prisoners at Auschwitz had to, like, walk in a single file line. But they were going for such a different end than me. And, like, they were going to meet their ultimate fate. They were going to death. They were going to a gas chamber or to a torture chamber. And I was going to get my sins forgiven. And yet I was complaining that it was too far of a walk.
I think I know why you were thinking about that. Maximilian Kolbe?
Probably.
We just heard
you
that
talked
story.
about that in the talk yesterday, last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why that specific
That makes
connection,
sense why the connection
but I
came up.
agree with the whole topic.
But it was just like, it really kind of like started bugging me that like I was trying to complain and trying to turn this, what could have been a beautiful time of reflection and like examination of conscience, into, you know, a pity party because my feet hurt. And like I was kind of annoyed with myself, but I don't want to be annoyed with myself because I'm actually in a pretty good mood right now.
I agree with the complaining. I think that's like my biggest thing. If you like talk to most people, they're probably like, Ryan kind of complains, which I do, which I feel like most of the time is valid. But
Valid complaints.
even during like adoration, and we were talking about this, they had lights on the monstrance. It was so bright. When I looked at it and I looked away, like I looked at it for like a second, then I looked away and like I had one of those dots, like you look at the sun. And I was just in my head, I was like, gosh, I want to go find someone, tell them to turn down the lights. Like, this needs to stop. But then I was like, why am I complaining? Like, that's Jesus. And I'm over here thinking about the light. And, yeah, it's like working on complaining.
Huge.
Huge.
Honestly, I think if we could cut out complaining, we could cut out a lot of things in our life.
Is complaining the root sin?
It could be. I mean, it's just unnecessary negativity.
You know, I know someone who for Lent gave up complaining.
Were they successful?
I mean, obviously, at times, like, you're just going to naturally go back to it for a second. But I
Yeah.
think overall he was pretty successful.
Yeah, I heard in one of my talks today, it was like, you might not be able to give something up entirely, but to at least be intentional in a small aspect. Like, say, the example was like, you're just in a really bad mood recently, and you're being mean to everybody. It's like, well, just try to be good to your roommate. And, like, just be good to your roommate. And everything else, I mean, it still matters. But, like, if you start with just being good to your roommate, eventually you can work that into the rest.
So why'd you look at Brent and smile when you said
Brent's
that?
my roommate.
He has to be nice to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening. I think that wraps. Do you have something else to say?
I just wanted to do the exit. You can do it if you want.
Well, I will say something and then you can close.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening. We're going to work to get someone on. Like, comment, subscribe, obviously, but I don't know what else you're going to say at the end.
I know, dude.
You're
You're doing the whole exit.
Honestly, I don't know if anyone makes it to this point. I think people will go, like, however far. Then they'll hit, like, the heresy mark. Because, obviously, we're going to mark it, like, heresy. If we said anything, like, we're going to go back and listen. And then they might stop there. And that might be it.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, Mom, thanks for subscribing. Anyone else who subscribed, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching our first video. This is our second video, so thanks for watching this.
Episode what?
Episode 0002. This has been the Purgatorial Podcast. And real quick, Swampy Marsh in the house. Say something.
What's up?
All right, and with that, folks, we will see you next time.